You go.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama, Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama
Rama, Hare
Hare,
Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Anyway, that could be it.
Yeah, well done. That was lovely. That was really nice.
Yeah.
It really
Anyway, I'm
was.
starting to come out of my shell.
Good. That's what we want. I'm trying to get my mouse to work. It's not working. Hare Krishna. Okay, so I'll just screen share so we can do prayer. I do have it ready, so
Right.
hopefully it'll let me do that. Can you see? These are the few advantages of Zoom.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, I'll just shrink everyone. So we can do this together, slowly. Om Jnana
Agyana,
Timrandasya
Tirimandasya
Janan Jana Salakya
Gyanan Janan Salakaya
Kaksur Ummilitam Yena
Chaksho Umilitanjaya
Tasmai Sri Guru Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam
Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam
Stapitam Yena Bhutale
Stapitam Yena Bhutale
Swayam Rupa Kadamayam
Swayam Rupa Kadamayam
Dadati Swapandikam.
Dadati Swapatandikam.
And okay, this bit's a bit of a challenge, but we can give it a go. Vandeham Sri Guru
Vandeham Shri Guru
Sri Yuta Padakamalam
Shri Yuta Padakamalam
Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha
Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha
Sri Rupam Sagrajatam
Shri Rupam Sagrajatam
Sahagana Ragnata Vitam
Sahagana Sarga Navitam
Tam Sajivam
Tam Sajivam
Sadvetam
Sadvaitam
Sadvadutam
Savadutam
Parichadanaya Sahitam
Parichanaya Satam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Sri Radha Krishna
Shri Radha Krishna
Padan Sahagana
Padan Sahagana
Lalita
Lalita
Sri
Shri
Visakan Vitamscha.
Vishakha Vitamscha.
This is a bit easier. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Dina Bandho Jagatpate
Dina Bandhu Jagatpate
Gopisa Gopikanta
Gopisha Gopika Kanta
Radha Kanta Namostute
Radha Kanta Namostute
Tapta Kancha Gorangi
Tacha Kanchana Gorangi
Radha Vrindavanasari
Radha Vrindavaneshwari
Vrisabhanu Sutta Devi
Vishabhanu Sutta Devi
Pranamami Haripriye
Pranamami Hari Priye
Vanchakalpa Turbhischa
Vanchakopa Turubrascha
Kripasindhavaya Evacha
Kripa Sindhuvevacha
Patitanayam Pavanabhayo
Patitanam Panavyo
Vaishnavayo Namo Namaha
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara
Sri Gaura Bhaktivinoda
Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
So let's just go through this because I think sometimes people just don't do it. So
should we just say it all together? Oh, okay, no, okay. You want to read the English?
No, I was going to explain it. I was going to explain. Yeah, so sometimes people just go through it without explaining it. So I'll just explain. I think it's quite nice to kind of go through it. So what we're doing here, this first part, which is this prayer here, I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So this is really kind of obviously a tribute by Prabhupada to his own spiritual master, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati, but also it's a tribute to Srila Prabhupada for us, because without Srila Prabhupada, we basically would carry on being born and reborn into this material existence. We wouldn't have a chance of beginning our journey out of here. And one of the things that the spirit of engaging in that verse really is one of huge humility, because the material energy is very powerful. And certainly I speak for myself, I'm extremely fallen. So I have a lot of bad material propensities. And it's really a recognition that without Srila Prabhupada, you just be completely lost with those. Your own material propensities would have taken you over, and probably, God knows what would have happened to you after this life to the next life. And maybe you never would have found your way out of material existence, because the purpose of material existence is, of course, the material world is created by Krishna because of our perverted desires not to serve Krishna. So it's here to reform us. And always remember that everything in the material world should be used to kind of help you in that reformatory process. So yeah, it's quite an important little prayer. And then, of course, here is a tribute to Rupa Goswami, who was, I suppose, the number one acolyte Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His brother, of course, Sanatana Goswami, was obviously very important as well. But Rupa Goswami really kind of, was with his brother was set to write down how to carry out bhakti so you can purify yourself. Right, the process of bhakti that we follow, the 9 processes of hearing, listening, chanting, serving the deity, serving the temple, and then finally you got this concept of Atman Nirvandam, which means a total surrender of everything you are, which is what we're going to look at today, to Krishna, which is really enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami, who's been empowered by Krishna himself as Lord Chaitanya. So Krishna himself in Kali Yuga has come to kind of give us the light back to Krishna. And that's why the spiritual master becomes quite important. And then you've got this kind of big, initially difficult to swallow passage, but this is really a kind of a tribute to all of these acolytes of Lord Chaitanya who came down with him, to do different roles. They've come from, a lot of them come from the spiritual world, a lot of them are reincarnations of Brahma, like Advaita, and they're here to really help us end our time in the material world. And because Srila Prabhupada recognizes that this is the most important part of the journey of the soul in this life, and these people have laid down the road. They're the guys that at night have been putting the road down, like the people who work on the freeway to get you, to keep the freeway up and running, so that you can, if you're a night worker, you can get home at the end of the night back to your home. And they're really the guys that have laid out the freeway that allow you to go back to Godhead through these practices of devotional service. So this prayer is really a prayer to them. And without all these people, then obviously Prabhupada would not have got initiated, and he never would have written the Bhagavad Gita, and then we never would have understood or tried to understand the Bhagavad Gita, and then start our own journeys back out in the material world. So this is a kind of a very big, quite a profound tribute, really. And then you've got this tribute to Krishna himself, which is a little bit sort of self-explanatory. But it's like we've done a lot of verses in Bhagavad Gita now which talk about Krishna, and like 10.8, the material source of creation comes out of him. But he's also the master of the gopis, and this is important for in the Bhakti tradition, because the aim of the Bhakti tradition is to try and go towards the standard set by the gopis, even though that's virtually impossible for us. And the standard set by the gopis is that they never really stop thinking about Krishna. They are these sort of highest devotees. They it's not like they'll go to the temple and go back to their homes and kind of start cooking food. They have to, so they go back to their homes. They don't go on their phone or anything. They'll just go, okay, what's the next thing I can do for Krishna? There's this constant, just the service never turns off. It's a part of their being. That's what we're trying to get through, and which is of course possible. In this life, it really is possible. Although we have to be humble about, if we even get near that, we have to be humble that say, well, we're very fallen, it's not possible for us to, so we can keep ourselves on our toe. We have to be very humble. And of course, the highest gopi, the highest devotee of all, is Srimati Radharani. So this is appropriate here, that there is a prayer to purify her, because she is really the emblem of pure love of Krishna. So if we just take a step back and I'll just put it on so I can see everybody. Everyone follow me so far? Or is that too fast? Oh, is it frozen?
Oh, all good. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so good. I should put my volume up. So this, if you think about it, this is at the start of the Bhagavad Gita. So what we're trying to do here, what we're trying to establish here, is a prayer to the spiritual master, because the spiritual master is going to help us get out of the material world. There's prayer to all these great devotees who are pure, and then there's kind of huge tribute to the purest devotees of all, So what we're doing is what it's suggestive of is the Bhagavad Gita is your first stepping stone towards aspiring to these levels of pure bhakti. So this is why it's here at the start. And Prabhupada himself is completely blown away by how pure these souls are, you know. And of course, like, he would be like beyond ecstatic just thinking about Radharani, you know. It's one of the gopis, because that's pure love. So this is why this is here at the start. And then, of course, he has to give a tribute to all devotees. Anybody who's starting to think about Krishna or doing some sort of bhakti, which is people like yourselves, you know, you're beginning that most important journey, which is the going back to the eternal nature of the soul. And that is not easy in the material world. It's very, very difficult, because there is constantly allurement of the material energy. You know, but mainly through our chanting, through other bhakti, we will really move mountains. Krishna will move mountains in those journeys if we follow the principles. So it's a tribute to the devotees who struggle with the material energy but are also very, very pure, who also help other people get out of the material existence, you know. It's almost impossible to get out of the material existence without either Krishna, but normally the devotee has come along. Some devotee has come along and sparked the fire. You know, like in Australia, there's a lot of fire in the hills. Someone even leaves you know, an incense lamp on in the grass that can turn into a huge fire. And devotees like that, this person can be completely materially absorbed. A devotee just touches a little incense stick, touches a little bit of the right part of the heart, and it bang. You know, eventually the person completely changes, you know. So that's a tribute to devotees. And of course, in Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya is the incarnation of Krishna, who comes to taste the love of Radharani for Krishna. He's so like almost like annoyed that, because wow, Radharani's so in love with me. She's such a high devotee, but I don't get to be a devotee, and I don't get to even be like that as a devotee, to feel that pleasure. So I'm going to imitate. I want to come and enjoy that. So I want to come as a pure devotee, right? So Lord Krishna comes as Lord Chaitanya to show us what devotional service actually means, you know, in terms of the actual conduct. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you have these incredible scenes like we spoke about last week, where Lord Chaitanya is on a boat, he's talking to some of his friends, and the river water just becomes a little bit, because the moon becomes a bit like Krishna's skin. So he immediately gets so excited, and that's because he's showing that pure mood of Radharani, the complete love. And anything that even resembles Krishna drives her crazy, you know. So he's trying to, that's called what we call spontaneous devotional affection, you know. There's different, we won't go into that, different elements of spontaneous bhakti, but literally people can be like on their phone doing something mundane at work, and they see something to do with Krishna, and it's just like, whoa, you know, they just have that impact, it has an impact on them, because they start to become purified. You know, they feel, they're almost relishing some sort of taste out of it. So that's the standard Lord Chaitanya is trying to set here. And he's setting it in Kali Yuga, which is of course perfectly ironic in some ways, because Kali Yuga is in many ways the hardest yuga to get devotional, to get bhakti. But also some ways, if you can get it, a lot easier, because the previous ages are all about the 4 elements of the Vedas, which are, you know, dharma, duty, artha, wealth, karma, enjoyment, and you know, moksha, liberation. So you know, whereas those help you purify to become eventually a bhakta. In Kali Yuga, you can just do what Lord Chaitanya says, and you can become a bhakta. You know, and the yagna for this age is Harinam Sankirtan, doing Harinam, singing the Maha Mantra in the streets, is the yagna for Kali Yuga, because that burns everything to ashes. And we explored that last week, the science of that, because Krishna is in every atom. As soon as you chant Krishna's name, the material energy is subservient to Krishna, so it alters. Its effect on you just diminishes just by chanting the holy name. And the more you chant, the more it diminishes, until what eventually happens is the soul gets closer and closer to its natural state of being. So the natural state of being of the soul is, I don't know if you guys know. I'll just be quiet so I can, while I keep talking. Does anybody know the natural state of the soul?
To be in Goloka? To be with Krishna?
Yeah, that's where it might belong. But what's its state? So if we say what I mean by this is that at the moment the material body is covering the soul, so it can't really emanate its natural state. Its natural state is Saksina Ananda, so it's full of knowledge, full of bliss, and it's eternal, right? But because it's caged in the material body, it can't actually display itself fully yet, right? It's qualitatively just like Krishna, but it's not as powerful as Krishna, right? So it's got absorbed in material energy. So what if we remove the soul out of the body, and it didn't go into another material body? Chandras is coming. One second. Hare Krishna. Oh, can you hear us?
Right. I think it'll take a few, probably in 30 seconds or something. Nice.
I'll just wait. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Just changing my name on this. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. So we just started a discussion. We talked about the invocation prayers in the Bhagavad Gita. We went through the explanations of those prayers. Talked about what Lord Chaitanya was trying to do in Kali Yuga, why it's a great benediction for us. And now we're talking about the question is, what is the nature of the soul when it's taken out of the body and it's no longer affected by material energy? So that's the question. Because we need to understand that question, because that's what we're trying to aim for, right? So, Chandras, did you hear that, or I'll say it again?
I just missed it because I had to walk out the room.
Oh, right, no worries. So the question we literally just started asking is, okay, we understand that. I asked what the nature of the soul was, and Pradeep said it's to be in Goloka Vrindavan. But what I'm trying to get at is, when you take the soul out of the material body, what's its natural state? If it's not affected by material energy. And the reason we need to understand this is what we're trying to aim for. So we need to have a bit of an understanding of what that is, right? Otherwise, we're just doing all this bhakti, and when people talk about purification, we need to understand what that means. That means basically getting rid of the material effects on the coverings of the soul, layer by layer. So when you get rid of you get to the middle of the onion, you get rid of by chanting and doing all the bhakti, you get rid of it, and material energy. What's left? What is the characteristic of this thing when there's no material impact on it? So that's my question. Yeah. So don't worry if you don't know the answer. I mean, we can maybe Chaitanya Chandradas can sort of talk about this a bit.
What are the qualities of the soul, or the nature of the soul? What is the exact question?
So the exact question is, what is the nature of the soul? But once there's no material impact on the soul, so what is its behavior? So in the spiritual world, so how does it? What is it that we are we're aiming to be like? What's our Krishna comes along and says, okay, I'm going to turn the light off. There's no material energy, so he turns the light off. What happens? So let's look at any thoughts, anybody? Or otherwise I'll try and explain this a bit.
I mean, there is the nature of the soul, which is to serve. And another thing that Prabhupada has said is that the soul is always active. The nature of the soul is always active. So there is active service, basically. So, just sitting and, thinking of nothing or whatever, thinking of Brahman, that is not active service. So it's not really devotional service. But Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna, that is devotional service, that is active service. And so that would be the nature of the soul. And the qualities, I guess, would be Satchit Ananda, so eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. So, I mean, that's the basics of, what would be the constitution of the soul.
Yeah, okay, that's very good. Yeah, we talked about such an another. So, what about the meaning of? Let's push this a little bit more. What about the meaning of Chaitanya Charitamrita? What does that mean? Do you know what that means?
The meeting, Charitamrita. I mean, the sweet stories. Charitamrita.
Like the nectar related something to
Lord Chaitanya.
I'm trying to put it on the screen for you.
The story of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
So this is related to this question. So I'm just going to put it on here for you. Yeah. So if that helps answer the question.
Living force. Character.
Immortal.
Living force and character.
So I just stop the. So what Chaitanya Charitamrita literally means is the characteristics of the living force in its eternal state, right? So when you get the soul and you remove all those layers, right? You get the behavior. That's the behavior you get. So the behavior we need to aim for is when you look at Chaitanya Charitamrita and you look at the conduct of the devotees, the really, really close devotees, the acolytes that we spoke of just now in invocation prayers, Lord Chaitanya, and we talk a little bit. Let's just start to touch a little bit on spontaneous, this kind of real absorption in Krishna, So everything is somehow, here's my mundane phone recharge plug, and when you look at this and you remember a picture of Krishna with a little light rope around his wrist, So this constant Krishna, Krishna, Krishna is everything. Is the natural? That's what the soul is supposed to be. It's supposed to be in bhakti. It's supposed to be. That's its constitutional position. Srila Prabhupada said that what people do is they literally translate it as, you have to be a servant of Krishna. But being a servant of Krishna has a relationship which has something called taste in it. It's not like some butler to a lord in England 100 years ago, where there's wearing a cap and they go, "Hello, my lord, do you want me to make you some tea?" Okay. And every day he comes in, he enjoys a little bit of helping his master, but it's a job. That's not what this is. This is like a pleasure and a happiness that in the material world just doesn't exist in material activity. It's the natural state of the joy for the soul, right? So you got Swamis like Devamrita Swami or Indrajuma Swami. He's done a nice series on this at the moment. So what we have in the material world is a kind of a fake reflection of our natural state when we're free from material energy as a soul. Yeah. So it's supposed to be enjoying and actually relishing and being ecstatic about serving Krishna and thinking about him constantly. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to get to. It's not just a practical thing that, okay, I had a professor at university, kidney problem, and this relates to what we're going to talk about. Who every 20 minutes his timer would go off, and he'd have to drink water. So the timer would go off because his kidneys needed to be flushed out constantly. So we're not saying let's put a timer on, and every 20 minutes time to think about Krishna. Let me just do some japa. Another 20 minutes. It's time to think about Krishna. And therefore, we're constantly thinking about Krishna. No, what we're trying to aim towards through that process is this idea of the characteristics of our soul when it's not affected by material energy. That's what we're trying to get to, right? And it's probably going to be very elusive for us to get to that kind of standard. But we need to understand what we're trying to achieve. Otherwise, we're just going to be doing 16 rounds a day or 10 rounds a day, going to RTs, and we're not sure what our goal is. It's not clear in our heads. And the danger of that is if you don't know where your goal is, you just meander all over the place, right? Like in business or in life or in a race or in an overnight rally car driving thing. you know. So we have to remember that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve, as we chant more, the less the material energy will have an effect on us. The more kirtans we do, the more harinams we do. But eventually what we're trying to do is get rid of the material pollution. So the real character, each one of us is an individual soul, has a Swarupa Siddhi, which is an individual relationship with Krishna. It has a real family in the spiritual world, has real friends in the spiritual world, has a real, you know, we'll have all these things. And we're just here, stuck here with this kind of fake costume on, like an actor on stage, you know, putting a costume on. It's not our real self, because when a celebrity comes off, you know, Taylor Swift comes off stage or goes backstage, they don't want to meet hundreds of people because they just pretended to be somebody, you know, or they pretended to be some Shakespearean character. It's not them, you know. And we're like in this complete illusion, you know. What we think is ourselves and our happiness is not what we're actually really like, because it's very, very far removed from what we think we are. And the only way we can get closer to who we really are is by chanting. Once we started to become convinced that we're under this drug-induced thing, we'll go, well, I want to be my real self. I don't want to lie all day in a dream. Like, I want to come out, you know. And then that's going to help us like do everything with a little bit more sincerity. So anyway, I've not sort of overblown that. So I hope that's slightly clear. So have a look at the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Have a look at the meaning, and in your time, just meditate on that. Why that meaning is the characteristics of the living force in immortality. You know, i.e., when it's removed from the material energy. That's when it's immortal and you know, in its natural state, natural clean state. Yeah. So okay, so go back to the verse we're going to do, which is related to all this, which is 9.27. I'll just screen share again. I have it ready. Oh no, the Zoom thing's gone over the tab. Oh, that's going now. Yeah, here it is. Okay.
I have a question before.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did discuss about the characteristics of the soul while it is in the body, and what it is eventually striving towards.
Yeah.
But during that process, what is happening to our consciousness? Like, so,
Yeah.
like, as we progress, or like you said in with regards to the devotees, they were those pure souls who already knew their original characteristics and could maintain that even in the material world. But for beings like us, as we how do we differentiate that it is not my senses which is driving me, and it is not my mind which is taking the decisions, but yeah, I am making a conscious decision or working towards my consciousness, so like spirit and consciousness, their relation. Yeah.
So this is a very, very important question. It's a very common question as well. Well done. It's a brilliant question. Well done for bringing that up, because the process is important. So Keshav Swami, which I know you watch some of his videos quite a lot on.
Yeah.
So he says, actually for us, unless we're keeping a diary and auditing the change of our consciousness through bhakti, we won't really start to understand how it's changing. Okay, you have to almost do a practical audit. I think I spoke about this before Christmas. So we have to go like, how to give an example. So like, you know, me, if I was 28, I was very, very mischievous. Like, and from a like Krishna consciousness point of view, I was like demoniac, you know, like complete demoniac. So if I saw a girl, right, I would knock her coffee over so I could buy another coffee so I could talk to her, right? So like I fortunately in my life I always wrote diaries from the age of 20s. So I've got like my diaries. They were like, oh, I managed to knock this girl's coffee over. I talked to her. Finally, I got her number, right? And like if you look at it like 7 years ago, like I would have been. I write about. I'm completely shocked. I used to do stuff like that. You know, like what kind of crazy behavior is this? It's like animals' behavior, right? So those are the extreme examples. But over time, as you focus on this and you chant, chanting is very important because it just gives you the vision of seeing, starts to give you a different vision between, oh, my mind is going, or my instinct is going, my consciousness is going. It just allows you to pull it back, you know? So you'll start seeing millions of shades of that. So it won't be like extreme things like that, but it'll be like I have a relative who's trying to come into Krishna consciousness at the moment, but they kind of eat meat, you know, they eat meat. So for them, it's like, but as they're doing it, it's actually happening less and less, you know? So what's happening is, what I need to focus on is when I see that thing that I shouldn't do, eat, like learning that that is an attraction, I need to remove the attraction. Yeah. And that is what is meant by cleansing on the fundamental basic level, cleansing the consciousness. We have to be aware of our inappropriate bad habits. So we have to privately, if we're not got the confidence to talk about it openly, and hopefully, you know, I know this has been recorded, but hopefully we'll do a session where people can talk about these things, which is important as well. You have to write down the first 8 things that I don't like about myself, which are going to affect me developing Krishna consciousness. And they'll be very obvious things. Like for some people, it'll be like, you know, there was a guy on my guru disciple course the year before last, and he was doing everything to get initiated, but he just couldn't stop eating onions for some reason. He just thought onions were the greatest thing in the world, right? He saw an onion, he just had to put it in his mouth. Like so what would happen if you break that down is, like, if he's walking past the grocery shop and there's an onion there, he's looking at like a sense object, right? And he's like salivating. He's already thinking, oh, that onion, I'll cook it in some ghee, I'll put some other stuff on it, and then it'll come in my mouth, and oh, it's going to feel, when it goes in my tongue, it's going to feel like this. You know, it's just all sense reaction. So what he has to learn to do, what they told him to do, which is much more senior devotees than me, is like, firstly, don't go to places where this thing is. If you can do that, that will help because you'll see it less often. Secondly, if you do see it, just move away. Just do some basic things like that. Yeah. And what that does is you're stopping the kind of reaction to the material energy, because the sense is the eyes is seeing it, and then you're engaging the tongue. Even if you're not even bought it yet, you're still engaging the tongue on it. He's already thinking he's going to eat it. So we have to learn. We know what the senses are. They're hearing, tasting, touching, all that, you know. And what we're doing, Prabhupada has put this wonderful process together. So the reason you chant, move your hands, feel the beads, not just chant without beads, and why we always try and chant with beads, is that we can feel that. And we're using the tongue to say the mantra, and we're also listening as well. So we're really engaging, we're into the habit of engaging our senses away from material sense objects into something to do with Krishna, right? So that is the part of the shifting the consciousness. And actually what happens is Krishna is very, very, he's in your heart as a super soul. When he sees a little bit of effort, as I said last week, if you put 1% in, Krishna will give you a 5% bonus, you know, for every 1% you do, because he doesn't want you to be in the material world. So it's about you, but the only way you can do this and get really good at it is you have to write it down. You have to get a diary and you have to write it down. Because the thing is, we've got too many things going on, particularly when we start the process or we're new to Krishna consciousness, where most of our day will be materialistic. It's not like, you know, like 11 o'clock, most days I do 4 more rounds. I just stop the day there because I know it's important for me to kind of stop and get back to Krishna. But initially, it's not that habit won't be there in people. So they need to kind of actively manage that by writing it down, you know. And actually, I think there's a video with Kesha Swami. He still does that. He doesn't. The thing about what I've noticed about the people who are really, really good at, you know, really good elevated practitioners of bhakti yoga, they're even more careful because they have a greater knowledge of the power of the material energy. So they're even more careful with these things, you know. So he still audits, like, if he sees too much cheese on a pizza, and he talks openly about this sort of thing, he'll still write that down. And go, I was getting greedy for food more than I need. You know, he'll write that down, you know. So he's like, he's like focusing himself like a professional athlete at that level, you know. Obviously, over many years, he's got to that kind of thing. That even these small things now he's focused on to perfect himself. So for us, we're probably not at that level, but we'll be at somewhere before that. So we have to focus on our little problems, and we all have them, you know. So, you know, and some of them are like very, very like fundamental to progress, you know. Like for me, I'll just be open. For me, like my whole day is to revolve around talking to girls for most of my life, you know. So like obviously it's been years since I've like behaved like that, but you know, like But for a while, I had to carry like Prabhupada's books on me. So if I started talking to a girl, I'd have to then give her the book. So I didn't have to talk about Krishna. I had to intercede Krishna physically into that thing, into that process to stop myself from doing it. So it's like, so a lot of people who are coming off eating meat, what they do is they just kind of go, they start forcing themselves to offer more and more food, because then they go, oh, I can't offer that, so I won't have to cook it. So they have to change their behavior. So to start with, you have to make big steps, and then, but not maybe everything at once, because then you'll just get lost. You can't have a personality change overnight. It doesn't work like that, otherwise you'll just freak out. So you're gonna have to do like little by little. I don't know if Chaitanya Chandradas or anybody else wants to add anything to my $2 advice, but
Yeah, it's good advice. I actually I don't do this. I should do it. I sometimes I take notes of what I've been thinking throughout the day, but it's not regular. It's not daily thing. Definitely, it's very helpful.
Yeah, it's because if if you're one of the things you can learn from the material world in business, like the businesses that change different markets, they have to audit their performance. If they don't audit their performance, they don't know if it's changing. That's the other thing. You don't know if you're actually changing if you're not auditing it. What if you're the same person as you were 20 years ago, but you just got very good at like closing your eyes when you see cake? You're not actually, your heart isn't pure. You just like, you still want the cake, but you just go past the cake stand and you hit a wall like this, bang, ouch. That means you haven't really changed your consciousness, as you said, So you need to also then go, where, if I'm doing the prevention, is my mind changing? So then that also means you have to do, if it's not changing, then you have to do more bhakti as well. There's two sides to it, So yeah. Okay, so we'll do the verse now, and then this is obviously, it's all related to the verse. So maybe Puja Mataji, you can have a read and then do the translation.
Yes. Just give me a second. Yeah. Yad karosi yad asnasi yajajuhosi dadasi yata yat tapasyasi kaunteya tata kurusva mad arpanam. Do you want me to read the translation?
Yeah, translation.
Yeah. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
Yeah. So this is if you remember just a little bit of the basics. So there's three, the sandwich of the Bhagavad Gita. The top bit is the Karma Yoga. The middle bit is Bhakti Yoga. The middle 6 chapters. The last 6 chapters are 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 are all Jnana Yoga, knowledge of the divine. So this is in the middle. This is right in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, near the middle. So it's the 9th chapter, which is the middle chapter, which is Bhakti Yoga. And it's near, I think the middle verse is 9.34, and this is very close to the middle verse, yeah? So this is actually what we're just talking about, this purification, idea of purification. Pradeep, what do you think, is this verse is trying to say? What do you think the kind of advice Krishna is trying to give to Arjuna here? Oh, I think your mic you muted it.
All actions do as an offering to me.
Yeah, but practically, what does that mean?
Everything you do should be related to Krishna.
Okay, yeah. So that's the easy question. Now here's a slightly difficult question. Okay, so just because I think we need to understand these two things. So the first 6 chapters is about karma yoga, which is action in Krishna consciousness, right? So basically, you do your job or whatever it is, and then whatever you get at the end of that, you give it to Krishna, right? What do you think the difference between acting in the first 6 chapters is compared to the Bhakti Yoga 6 chapters? What do you think the difference might be? It's not an easy question.
Okay, well, the first part is doing your activity for Krishna, and Bhakti yogas are no practicing the actual practice directly rather than indirectly.
Close. Close. It's good. It's good. Puja Mataji, anything on that? It's a very difficult question, actually, but an important question.
Yeah, I think like karma yoga is more with an intention of act towards Krishna, but bhakti yoga, I think first is surrender, love, and belief. Like heart comes first, and then comes your action, like as an offering. Like there is, yeah, the action is for Krishna and not with some other intention.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very close to the answer. It's very, very good. Well done. Very good. Chandra, do you want to add anything? Or you probably know the answer because you've done Bhakti Shastri. So
yeah, you can answer, Prabhu.
Okay. So this is like on a lot of the courses I've gone on recently, a lot of the online and also classes, like Bhagavatam classes, this confusion is coming up quite a lot. So if we take, for example, book distribution, right? Let's look at book distribution. I'm just taking random examples. So book distribution in this hand, and then you've got I go to Bunnings, I get a job there, I work there 5 hours a day, and I get paid $50. I only need $5 to eat, and I give $45 to Krishna, to the temple, right? So this is two things, right? Okay. So this Bunnings one is karma yoga, right? The book distribution is bhakti yoga, right? Because the activity of karma yoga is a material activity. It's at the start, at the end product is used for Krishna, correct? But the actual engagement with the material energy is materialistic, yeah. Whereas with the book distribution example, right, the beginning of the activity is all spiritual or bhakti, and the middle of the activity, talking to people, is all bhakti, and the product of the activity, someone may or may not become a devotee or throw it in a bin or whatever, that's all completely spiritualized. So that's bhakti, yeah. Or for example, if you're carrying out the deity ceremony for Mangalati, okay, from beginning to end, that doesn't have any material tinge in it, right? Unless your mind is thinking, Krishna, give me some money because I'm doing this, right? But actually, let's say that doesn't exist. That's bhakti, okay? But when you bring in some material element, like the activity is materialistic, or like you start thinking in the temple, like if I do book distribution, Krishna will give me a new car, right? So that is now what happened is you've introduced some material thing into that process at the end of that process rather than the start, but then you've turned it into a form of karma yoga, okay? It's still yoga because it's still sort of done for Krishna, but you still want something, you know? So yeah, it's not quite pure karma yoga, nishkama karma yoga, but it's a kind of a form of a karma yoga, right? So that's the difference, okay? So there are activities which are completely pure, right? And what Krishna is saying, this is important, in chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita, is if you start with karma yoga, even if you're impure in mind and your activities are impure, but you start doing a little bit for me, I will take you on that process to bhakti yoga, right? Yeah. So then what will happen is that, let's say you're a doctor. You've been a doctor your whole life, and you're doing karma yoga. So you're doing more and more stuff. You're doing more stuff. You're giving away your proceeds of your work to Krishna. And occasionally you start doing bhakti yoga. You start working in a temple out of affection for Krishna. You start doing book distribution. Start going on Harinam. What's going to happen is what Krishna will do is where you get your pleasure from is no longer to be, I'm a doctor, I'm so important, or I enjoy doing this patient. That mellow of helping the patient is going to go down, and the enjoyment from the material, from the bhakti yoga side will increase, right? Pujya Mataji's question was, how do you change your consciousness? Or the point of the question, how do you change your consciousness? What's happening in this process is, because what you're enjoying is to do with Krishna, your consciousness is also getting changed, because that's where you're getting, every soul exists to enjoy, right? And it's supposed to enjoy through serving Krishna. So this happening is actually becoming rebalanced in the right way, right? So at the start of when it was, the guy was 22 and he came out of medical school, it's like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm so cool. I love helping people. But that's all materialism, right? Prabhupada explains nationalism, altruism, it's all good stuff, but it's not. It's better than being selfish, but it's not going to get you out of the material world, right? Only some element of bhakti is going to get you purified. So as you start doing any bhakti practice, you will eventually start enjoying that more than the material act. So then what will happen is, when you go to Bunnings, in my Bunnings example, you'll get up and it won't be like, oh, I've got to go to Bunnings, mate, I've got to go to work today again. Ugh. It'll be like, I'll go to Bunnings, I can do stuff for Krishna. Yes, let me get my clothes, let me have a shower. So suddenly, they talk about people who are in that sort of pure nishkama karma yoga mindset, they actually start approaching their job with more zeal, actually, because they're doing it for Krishna than the normal person. So then they start getting promoted, they start doing better at work. It has a really bizarre impact, because they're actually thinking of a higher goal, higher than even a promotion or getting another house. They're thinking of a much delayed gratification, which really helps them perform better at work. So I've forgotten who's written the recent is the BBT Mahabharat. Anyway, I've forgotten who's the big volume. Krishna Dharmadas, I think, has done that one. So in that Mahabharat version that's come out in the last few years, what happens to Arjuna is, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, now he's fighting for Krishna, and the Krishna's instruction, so it's bhakti effectively. Like, the violence he's able to do on the battlefield is nothing compared to the stuff he's done before in other battles. Like, he's able to go completely over the top. And like the enemy's like, what the hell is this? Like, where's this kind of force come from? Because he's totally doing it for Krishna. So like, even though before they thought he was pretty powerful and like an amazing archer, what happens in that process in 18 days of the war is a completely beyond lethal, what he does. So like, remember, he removes all these big warriors out the way and wipes out, Kauravas, with Krishna's help, of course. But so what happens as we enjoy this bhakti process, and at the same time, naturally, what will happen is our taste of the material process will diminish, right? We will do the material process anyway, but we will do it with a higher form of zeal because we're doing it for Krishna, right? Because we're understanding what the nature and the purpose of our real self is, of the soul. So this verse is quite empowering, because it's got a lot of missing undertones in it, which we've just talked about. So whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer and give away, you do it for me. You create a higher standard. If I'm making porridge for myself in my materialistic days, it's not going to taste as good as, oh, I've got to make it for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the person I'm supposed to be in love with. Oh, let me work out if I've got any apricots in the house. Or when I go shopping, I better get some this and that to put in the porridge. Is my quality of honey good enough? You start thinking about all these crazy things that you wouldn't normally. And so actually your own life gets better because Krishna's in it. It's kind of really strange, because you're actually acting less selfishly. And actually, by acting less selfishly, thinking about just me eating the porridge is going to taste better and you're going to enjoy it more, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. Work will become more fun. Cooking becomes more fun. Whatever you offer or give away, as Krishna says here, becomes more fun, because, hey, it's about Krishna. Who doesn't want to keep Krishna happy? We're a part of Krishna. Krishna, this material energy in my body belongs to Krishna. I'm not now stealing it for myself. I'm free of my contaminated behavior. Anyway, I'm getting carried away, but you can see the point I'm trying to make here. Right? So it's the spirit is important. So when we start auditing this stuff in a diary, got my diary here somewhere. I just put it somewhere. Anyway, just start off by writing 2 or 3 bullet points a day. You can just put a date and then go, I normally do date, where I am, the time I'm writing, and I go, okay, these are my 3 bullet points, and this is where I messed up. I went to the supermarket and I started buying stuff, which I didn't think about offering it. I just bought it because I wanted to, enjoy my time. and I need to. And what happens if you write that constantly? You start focusing on it. So you'll go, okay, actually, no, is this kind of really bland cheese what I like? Is it going to actually enjoy it? Krishna going to enjoy it? No, stop buying that. So some stuff like that, and Krishna will see that from within. He's thinking about me now. Whatever he eats, he's thinking about me. So that those things start coming in. Yeah. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to share something
Yep.
personal, and which is like also a coincidence. So since last 1 year, I think I was visiting the temple whenever I had time, and like would go and eat there in order, like rather than paying somewhere else, I would rather go and spend like as a part of my whatever consciously, I don't know, like rather, as an offering or pay there and eat out. But just how I got into association here was like one day I was just walking in the Adelaide market, and here this book, and though I had a copy of Bhagavad Gita, but it is a coincidence. I bought this book, and it left me a note which says, if you can, I'll just show it to you. Can you guys see it? So this note is by Chaitanya Das, if you like, yeah. So I bought this book, and yeah. So just looking at his devotion, I just thought of reading the book, and I saw this message, and I WhatsApped Sham Sundar Dasji, and that's how I got connected. So it was more of his bhakti and devotion, I think, yeah. So
Brilliant.
if you can see this.
Yes. So the person who's on the call with us.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I texted him, and then he helped me connected with Sham Sundarji and Pradeep and everyone. So it was his bhakti who actually. Yes, I'm Pooja.
I remember your message now. Yeah.
Yes. So just a coincidence how his, active involvement got me also actively involved.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, as we said at the start, the grass and the incense stick, either Krishna, but mostly the devotee. If you have the incense light of the devotee, even the dry grass will get on fire and create a huge blaze. This is just this is Krishna's mercy, and the mercy of the devotee, of course. Amazing.
Yeah.
I also would have been lost without Chaitanya Chandradas, so he saved me as well. So we're lucky to have him on Bruvaloka in Kali Yuga, going around doing book distribution.
Thank you. Personally, thank you. Yes. I haven't got a chance to personally meet him, and I didn't know he was joining today, but I saw him and I thought, let me just share it. Yeah.
I'm very happy you shared that. That's really nice.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for the your selfless service, I guess. Yeah.
Did I personally give you the book, or did you get it from someone else?
No, I bought it, but I did not know it had a message at the back. I read the message while I was reading the book.
Oh.
I bought that.
I gave it to you, or how did it?
No, yes, it was me. Yeah. So you just said that you can pay whatever like amount you want, and here's the book, like in the market. So, but I did not know it had a message at the back. And when I read it, I texted on that number and I got connected.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Our marketing works.
Wow, I'm so happy.
Do you often write messages in the books, Chaitanya?
I write messages in the Bhagavad Gita and the Science of Self-Realization. Because
though I had a copy which I was gifted during my marriage, but I just thought it's a soft cover and I can carry it when I'm traveling. So I got this, and I had a message at the back. Yeah.
Go get more soft covers. That's
wonderful.
I have to go on a work call, unfortunately, but I think we've done an hour anyway.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. I would have taken more questions, but I've got a call in about 2 minutes. So I have to go. And I'm also in Sydney, so it's like 8:40 now. Hare Krishna. So I will see everyone next week at the same time. I made it 7 because Stephen Shristi couldn't make 6:30, so they couldn't get home in time for 7. So 7 is easier. Because I will call you or text you when I'm back in Adelaide on Friday, but then I'm going to London, so I'll call you on Friday morning.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Pradeep, everything okay?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, everything's good.
Okay. Thank you for your amazing association. I mean, this really helps me purify myself, which of course is impossible, but at least you're trying to help me.
Our pleasure.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your time.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
have a lovely few days, weekend as
Thank you,
well.
Prabhu. Nice to meet you,
Prabhu.
Pooja. Hare Krishna.
Same
Hare
here.
Krishna,
Same
Chaitanya.
here. Bye-bye.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. See you. Hare Krishna.
Kirtan Adelaide. Leave a like and subscribe.